ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Fight for Our Freedom Radio. And I'm your host, BADBABY. And tonight, I'm going to be talking about targeting. I have an FBI document I'm going to play tonight. I am also going to tell you what in the world's going on. I'm going to talk about RFID chip implants and holograms and the whole shebang. And it ought to be interesting. I've got so many windows open. Pay attention to the chat. I'm going to be posting a lot of articles, a lot of information. So if you miss out on it, you might want to chat grabber later. Okay. What I'm going to start out with here, you're going to have to bear with me. I've got so many windows open. But the first thing I want to talk about tonight, a little bit about, if I can find it now. I've got so many windows open, I've got to look for what I'm starting with. Okay. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the RFID chip that's being put in American citizens without their acknowledgement. And everything that I talked or play here tonight, I am going to post it in the chat room. So if you want to look this video up yourself and watch it, go right ahead. But what it says is 1 in 3 Americans have been implanted with an RFID microchip but don't know it. And over 100 million Americans are implanted. So let's hear what they have to say.
This is an article by John T. Brugge, Ph.D., and Mary Franz, Ph.D., of the Wyoming Institute of Technology Human Studies Division. The abstract states, radio frequency identification RFID chips have been used extensively in wildlife ecology and conservation to identify and track individual specimens in the population. It's been unknown, however, how often RFID chips have been implanted in human populations for the tracking and identification of individuals. This study analyzes the prevalence of RFID chips in 3 geographically discrete populations and found that on average, that's populations in the USA, on average 1 in 3 individuals carried an RFID chip. Interestingly, there was a strong correlation with RFID chip presence and prevalent dental work. Populations, 3 discrete human populations defined by geographic location were assessed for the presence of RFID chips. Populations Midwest containing 958 individuals from Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin. Population Northeast contains 987 from Maine, Rhode Island, and New Jersey. Population Southwest contains 1,010 individuals from Arizona and Nevada. The volunteers were recruited using standard methods and compensated in a manner consistent with industry standards. All test subjects were treated in compliance with the institutional codes of ethics and standards. So they took a random sample of individuals, volunteered individuals who didn't even know they had RFID chips implanted in them. And throughout the whole of the United States, basically it's about the same. Average 33% of the population was found to have been implanted without their knowledge of it. The individuals tested were subjected to full-body RFID chip scanning using previously detailed protocols of the study. Test subjects were scanned either in the nude or in minimal undergarments to avoid interference. The results showed that in total, 997 RFID positive individuals were identified out of the 2,955 individuals screened. So this corresponds to roughly 1 in 3 individuals screened. There's some figures here if you'd like to, some diagrams if you'd like to see them. Individuals Residual frequency by region can be seen in Figure 2, it says, which again, it's at almost 1 in 3. Additional tooth fillings were identified as a predominant location for RFID chips. 57% of RFID chips were identified located in the tooth fillings. RFID additional locations and their prevalence can be seen in Figure 3. So most people, about 57% over, that's over half of the people that have been found with RFID chips implanted in them without their knowledge or approval, of course, have them placed in their tooth fillings. And in Figure 3 of the diagram, it shows RFID chip locations, besides being in the tooth filling, are in the hand, also in the artificial hip, a very large percentage, artificial knee, a very large percentage, implanted screw, maybe if somebody wanted to have a tooth implantation, they have a screw that's implanted into the jawbone. So that's the implanted screw, and implanted birth control. That also has an RFID. What a strange thing in the birth control. So the conclusion states, our work has shown that approximately 1 in 3 individuals in the United States is carrying an RFID microchip. Our sample size was sufficiently large. The number was 2,955 individuals tested and was spread throughout 3 distinct geographic regions of the United States. Thus, we are comfortable extrapolating our findings to the broader American population. So if the population of the United States is over 300 million, that means that over 100 million Americans are chipped already, and they don't even know it. And here they are claiming, oh, we're Christians, we're not going to accept the RFID chip. Well, we already have it. Most of us have had fillings. Intriguing, the most frequently identified location, the article goes on to say, for an RFID microchip was in tooth fillings. This is contrary to popular held belief that the RFID chips are inserted in the dorsal of the hand near the thumb, meaning the top of the palm, not the inside of the palm, the top. That's not the way they do it. They're hiding it. And doctors are part of their scheme. More investigation is required to understand the significance of this finding, it goes on to say. So here we are. We have the evidence that most people in the United States have been microchipped without their knowledge or authorization. Now, the next thing we have to do is ask ourselves, why was this done? Why did the physicians, surgeons, dentists, all of them who have taken a Hippocratic oath of Hippocrates, stating that they would always have the mind in mind and their intention, the health of their patient. Why would they do such a thing contrary to their oath, contrary to the laws of the land, and risk the health of their patients? Because these things, of course, can be poisonous. We already know that tooth fillings may be causing may be toxic to their patients and a health hazard. But, all right, we don't know why they did it. They're obviously part of somebody's scheme. The next thing we have to do is go and test ourselves to find out if we do have an RFID implanted in us, and I'm sure that a third of us will find that we do have. Most of us have had fillings. Others have had screws, embedded teeth. Okay, so therefore we've had screws put into our jaws. Others have had broken legs and perhaps some kind of a metal implant that has remained there until we pass this phase of our physical existence. We'll be buried with those metal pieces with us in our skeleton. Others have had hip and knee replacements. How are you going to get those microchips out of you? it will be physically impossible for most people to do that. And they've done it without our knowledge. Now, what is on those microchips? What do those microchips contain? We already know that they can alter our moods by electromagnetic pulses being emitted by them. We already know that they can alter our heart rate. We already know that they can alter our mind. They are capable of mind control, besides the fact that people can trace us wherever we are on the face of the earth. And they can also excrete various types of hormones into our system. We've already seen that with the Bill Gates contraceptive microchip that he's going to be testing this year and putting on sale as of 2018. And then last but not least, people have to find out if they have them and go and sue their physicians. Go and sue them. Don't let them get away with this. So I'll leave a link below for you for this article.
Okay, so there we have it. We are being microchipped secretly, which we knew this all along, by our dentists and our doctors, and they are part of it. I caution women that are going to say, oh, wow, there's a chip they can put in me and I won't get pregnant and then I just have it taken out. I would caution you not to do it. How do you know that that chip isn't destroying your female organs and this is part of the depopulation? You know, I mean, when you let someone inject something into your body, you're trusting them, and we just can't trust anymore. I mean, we're in a whole new world here, a whole new mindset. But the other thing I want to play is the document. A lot of targets can't understand why they are not getting help. Let me mute this real quick. Why they are not getting help. And if you listen to this document from the FBI, and you will find out that this is a program that is being put under state secrets. This is how they get away with this. They claim terrorism, homeland security, state secrets, and they, under the fact that as soon as they bring up state secrets, they don't have to comply with the Constitution or the law. So let's listen to this document.
FBI documents shed more light on state secrets about targeted individuals. Raised heavily redacted FBI documents obtained by human rights group Electronic Privacy Information Center, EPIC, show 8,000 Americans targeted individuals are being secretly persecuted because their names are on a strictly confidential government watch list, including people who never committed a crime according to the New York Times report published Tuesday. The documents show officials are strictly prohibited from telling targets their name is on the list but can persecute the target, such as with harassment at airports. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is permitted to include people on the government's terrorist watch list even if they have been acquitted of terrorism-related offenses or the charges are dropped, according to newly released documents that EPIC obtained through Freedom of Information, the Times reported. The files, released by the FBI under the Freedom of Information Act, disclose how the police are instructed to react if they encounter a person on the list. They lay out, for the first time in public view, the legal standard that national security officials must meet in order to add a name to the list. And they shed new light on how names are vetted for possible removal from the list. The documents reveal that targeted individuals on the watch list can be kept off of planes and be subjected to delays and greater security at airports, border crossings, and traffic stops, reported the Times. The document includes a notice issued December 21, 2010 to field officers from counterterrorism that states in capital letters, "Do not advise the subject that they may be on a terrorist watch list." According to the same notice, the list of names is the property of the TSC. F.B.I.S. Terrorist Screening Center. Although innocent people are named on the watch list, orders are for officials to not detain those individuals unless they commit a crime. The notice concludes, warning, approach with caution. If an individual is acquitted or charges are dismissed for a crime related to terrorism, the individual must still meet the reasonable suspicion standard in order to remain on, or be subsequently nominated to, the terrorist watch list, says the newly declassified memorandum. Although Timothy J. Healy, F.B.I.S. Terrorist Screening Center Director, says the documents show government is balancing civil liberties with a carefully vetting of who goes on it, some of the procedures is drawing fire from civil liberties advocates, including EPIC. Ever attracted suspicion? Ever met someone on the paranoid side who might find your actions suspicious? Ever made someone angry, a person who agrees with the American way of revenge, such as calling your name into the local fusion center? Ever jilted a lover? According to those protecting the fatherland, these situations are sufficient enough to be targeted and kept on a watch list no matter what. Stuart Baker, a former Homeland Security official in the Bush administration, argued that even if the intelligence about someone's possible terrorism ties fell short of the courtroom standard of beyond a reasonable doubt, it could still be appropriate to keep the person on the watch list as having attracted suspicion, reported the Times. It only takes 2 people to report a target. In the guidance memo to FBI field offices, as reported by the Times, it is clear that someone may be deemed a known or suspected terrorist if officials have particularized derogatory information to support their suspicions. That standard may be met by an allegation that the suspect has terrorism ties if the claim is corroborated by at least one other source, it said. Although snitching on someone is not to involve mere guesses or hunches, according to the notice, it does not bar 2 people from reporting as a potential terrorist someone they view as deserving of being persecuted so that the name of a personal foe is on the list. This is a seemingly easy feat for the ever-growing group of Homeland Security-related employees with their right connections. With over 200,000 contract employees and 188,000 federal employees, DHS is the 3rd largest cabinet department. Those figures do not include all the other related department employees. In 2009, Senator Patrick Leahy, D. Vermont, longtime human rights and civil liberties advocate, confronted the nation's premier law enforcement agency for allowing innocent citizens languish on a secret list. Given the very real and negative consequences to which people on the watch list are subjected, this is unacceptable, Leahy had said. Leahy's opposition to the way individuals are targeted followed an Inspector General report, .pdf, showing, as Wired magazine put it, the FBI can't figure out the right way to add or remove suspected terrorists from the country's unified terrorist watch list, subjecting citizens to unjustified scrutiny from government officials and possibly putting the country at risk. The United States Counterintelligence Program, once called COINTELPRO, coordinates tactics to use against targeted individuals. These include discrediting through psychological warfare, planting false reports in media, smearing through forged letters, harassment, wrongful imprisonment, extralegal violence, and assassination, now legal since President Obama signed the Targeted Killing Executive Order. According to Roderick Jeffrey Jones in his 2008 book, FBI, the FBI records show 85% of the nation's counterintelligence program resources targeted groups and individuals that the FBI has deemed subversive. Subversive, Congress learned in 1976, though an intensive investigation, has been associated with investigations that included a vaguely defined mission to collect intelligence about subversive activities which were sometimes unrelated to law enforcement. Covert operations under COINTELPRO that occurred from 1956 to 1971 shocked the nation when the congressional investigation revealed the un-American tactics used to ruin lives. Lesser known is that the FBI has used covert operations against domestic political groups since its inception, according to Ward Churchill and Jim Vander Waal's 1990 book, The COINTELPRO Papers, Documents from the FBI's Secret Wars Against Domestic Dissent, published by South End Press, pages 12, 303. The Times reports, the F.B.I.S. Terrorist Screening Center shares the data with other federal agencies for screening aircraft passengers, people who are crossing the border and people who apply for visas. Possibly explaining why police offer no protection to targeted individuals when they complain about the persecution, including frequent house break-ins, theft, computer hacking, telephone intrusions such as disconnects and rerouting calls, is that, as the Times reports, the watch list data is given to local police officers to check names during traffic stops. Electronic Freedom Foundation asks Obama to follow law as federal officials withhold Obama appointees' names. Targeted individuals consistently report persecution by being kept under surveillance, an unwanted intrusion. But what civilians did President Obama appoint to oversee misconduct by people targeting individuals? The public does not know, since, thus far, the president also been kept this a secret. Tuesday, the human rights organization Electronic Freedom Foundation, EFF, filed suit against the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, ODNI, demanding records of names of people on President Obama-appointed Intelligence Oversight Board, IOB, the civilian panel charged with reviewing all misconduct reports for American intelligence agencies. EFF stated, the IOB is supposed to alert the President and Attorney General when it spots behavior that is unlawful or contrary to executive order. However, in his nearly 3 years in office, President Obama has not yet announced any appointments to the IOB. F suit comes after the ODNI refused to respond to a Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, request for membership, vacancies, and other information about the IOB made earlier this year. We're trying to create a picture of the federal government's intelligence violations as Congress considers updates and changes to current surveillance law and oversight, said EFF staff attorney Jennifer Lynch. Part of that picture is who is on the IOB. We're asking the government to follow the law and release the records on IOB membership. Last Wednesday, EFF and a coalition of whistleblowers, intelligence experts, and veterans urged a federal appeals court to reject government attempts to bury yet another lawsuit challenging illegal surveillance with baseless claims of state secrets. This group includes experts from throughout America's intelligence community, and they are all concerned about the government's abuse of the state secrets privilege, said EFF legal director Cindy Cohn. If courts cannot review potentially illegal behavior by the government, then there's no meaningful oversight. That's unconstitutional. America needs to be able to protect against officials who abuse their power. Juxtaposed to democracy and the United States Constitution, the infamous Gestapo, Stasi, and Red Guard all sought and maintained civilian armies of snitches to help their rogue governments maintain absolute power. Government thugs were recruited to gain any information that could be used against victims selectively targeted, people not with the government in power or people owed revenge. Today, the United States government relies on secrets provided by neighborhood members of InfraGard, a private non-profit organization serving as a public-private partnership between the United States businesses and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, an information sharing and analysis effort serving interests and combining the knowledge base of a wide range of members. A fundamental principle of democracy is transparency, a principle upon which President Obama campaigned. Could you or someone you love be targeted by police, TSA, or even local neighborhood recruits? Learn more about targeted individuals by reading Deborah Dupre's articles on this subject here.
Okay, so what she's saying is that as soon as you complain, they look to see if you're on the list, and then they get away with it under state secrets. So, and I noticed that I talked about this before. InfraGard is heavily involved in this. The people who are hired through InfraGard are your neighbors. They're the ones that are watching you and reporting on you, and they are being told a mass smear of lies about you, and they think that they're doing some great community effort to harass and target you, and they know that they can get away with it, that they are under state secrets. So what they're doing is they're making their own rules to go around our Constitution. And I'm going to give you a perfect example tonight. And if you're muted and I don't unmute you right away, just give me a minute because I have no guest tonight, so I can't watch the board completely. I have quite a bit of information I'm going to put out here tonight about what I think is going to go down in the next 2 years, if we got 2 years. But one of the things I had a guest on that had a while back, Stuart Swidlow, and he said that they are planning an alien invasion. Well, when he first said that, I thought, yeah, well, maybe, I don't know, I'm not real sure on that. But the more I've been looking into what's going on, and these are the things that I'm going to post tonight, are the holograms. Now, I don't know if you guys had heard, but probably a few months back, people were reporting seeing a city floating in the clouds. First, it was reported in China. Then it was reported in California. People were taking pictures of this floating city. friends, there is no floating city. It is a hologram. Now, that kind of like blew away, you know, like no one talked about it after they first started talking about it. Well, surprise, surprise, the floating cities are back. I have a link here. I'm going to post it for you guys. And let's see. Oops, I'm going to get it over here. You have to bear with me. I'm getting a lot of harassment through my computer. But I'm going to post this article, and you can go through it. This was seen today in China, another floating city. Also, I heard that someone actually, I saw this on Facebook, somebody in California took a picture of the same floating city, so it's showing up again. And what I think they're doing is they are testing out their Project Bluebeam. For those who don't know what Project Bluebeam is, they plan on using the clouds to put images up in the clouds to make people think that we have the Messiah is coming or that aliens are coming. And so that's the article there. You can take a look. There's pictures of this floating city. And then the other thing I want to show you, and it's so hard, you guys, to do a show when I got to show you pictures because, you know, I got to go back and forth. Anyways, let me find it. I'm going to show you how advanced this technology is. I have a video here of a school gymnasium, and this is how easily they can trick you. And this is why I want to point this out to you, because if they do plan on making people think that there's an alien invasion or we're under attack, I want to show you how real they can make this look. So I have a picture, a video here I'm going to post up for you. And it is a hologram of a whale coming out of the gymnasium floor, jumping in the air, and then falling back down. And I'm telling you, if this don't look real. So this just gives you an idea of how easily they can make you think that this is actually happening. And this is the technology that they have been using on targeted individuals. When I first started having my targeting done, the first year that they were really doing the heavily stuff on me, they did a hologram of my husband standing in my dining room. You know, so all they I don't know how they do this, computer imaging or whatever, or with satellites, but they have the capability, folks, to do this. So never, you know, if they're telling you we're under attack by aliens, don't believe it. I mean, I think they're testing this stuff out, but I think that they have 2 or 3 different scenarios of what they plan on doing, because and I think the reason they have 2 or 3 is because everybody's catching on to what's going on. The facts are coming out that, you know, they have this technology, they're implanting people, people are suspicious of the camps, the guillotines that are in the camps, you know, so, you know, it's not hidden anymore. So, you know, just know that they have this technology. Now, let's get down to the truth. The truth is, and I'm wondering if this is all being done as a great big distraction to what's really going on. But the truth is, we have an object coming towards our planet. And, you know, they have admitted that they found another planet and blah, 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 but no one's actually talking about it. And they aren't talking about the flooding, the intense weather changes, the animal die-offs, and the activity of earthquakes and volcanoes. This is all part of it, folks. The core of our planet is heating up, and it's killing off tons and tons of fish, On the 23rd of March, we just had tons of fish die in Vietnam. On the 23rd, there were tons of fish that died in Thailand. On the 22nd, even in the inland lakes and rivers now, they're having mass fish die-offs. On the 22nd, they had tons of birds that were dying, and they had seabirds that they found inland in Alaska, 36,000 of them that were found dead in an inland lake, and they said seagulls don't go inland. So why are these animals acting so erratic, and why are we having so many die? So I'm not going to go over the whole list, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and not only, birds and fish, but crocodiles, oysters, starfish, the seals are dying, whales are dying. So I am going to post that list for you, and you can take a look at that. But our planet is dying, and the reason it's dying is because it's heating up from the inside out. And we are also wobbling. We're wobbling because of the gravitational pull of this object coming at us. And the fact that we're wobbling is why we are having such an erratic weather pattern. The airstream isn't going the way it used to go. It's dropping down dramatically in the middle of our country. And there are tornadoes and storms like it never have we seen before. I mean, I watch the Weather Channel every morning, and the flooding that's going down across the South, the tornadoes, they aren't talking about it on our regular local news stations. So if you really want to pay attention, I would suggest to start watching the Weather Channel or Google it up, because they show all the images. People are filming all this and putting it in, turning it in. So, just keep an eye on what's going on. Start paying attention on what's going on. Let me see, did I post that? Oh. Yes, I did. Okay, so that list is up there. That's, evidence that our planet is going through some kind of dramatic change. In the last week, we've had 4 more volcanoes that have become active. I think the last time I talked about the volcanoes being active within the last month, there were 13. And the reason these volcanoes are becoming active is because the core is heating up and that magma's coming to the surface. It has to go off somewhere. Now, I was reading on Planet Watch site on Facebook, and somebody had a copy of a letter. I could not, for some reason, get that letter. I don't know whether it was because it was on a group site or what, but I will tell you what they said. They monitor the cameras at Yellowstone, and 2 of them were down. So they wrote and they wanted to know why these 2 cameras were down, and did it have anything to do with the possible volcanic eruption. And so they actually, the park wrote them back and said, no, we don't think there's any threat of a volcanic eruption, but we are expecting a huge earthquake. And I thought, oh, okay, well, that's nice for you to let us know. And you don't think if there's a huge earthquake, it's not going to affect the volcano? I mean, that sounds like some double talk. And the other thing is, on the main CNN news I saw about a month or 2 ago, they had an expert on there talking about the fault line across California, and that it wasn't maybe it was going to happen. It was when is it going to happen, because it is going to happen. And they were saying if they lived on the west side of Interstate 105, they would be moving. In fact, they would move out of California completely, but they sure wouldn't want to be on the other side of that interstate, because that's where I guess the fault line runs down that interstate. And they said that everything is just going to shake, rattle, and roll. So they're predicting this earthquake. And, I've had Terrell on many, many times talking about the black star and how it's going to affect our planet. He did an update, and I'm going to play a small section of his update and what he says about it. But he seems to think that late April, beginning of May, the way that the planet's going to position it's going to be in, that these earthquakes are going to start happening. And I hate to say it, but I watch the earthquake map every day. And just about 4 or 5 days ago, Russia had a 6.2 and a 6.4. Didn't ever hear a word of that over here in the United States. But there has been a big increase in 6-point earthquakes. There's also been a big increase of people talking about hearing the booms and the strange sounds. Well, the reason you're hearing these sounds, and people think it's up in the air, they're going like, what's up in the sky? It's not up in the sky. It's the tectonic plates that are rubbing together that are making these sounds. It's our planet that's making the sounds. So, you're hearing them. Believe me, you're hearing them. And it's because the Earth's core is heating up and it's causing pressure on the plates. And I warn everybody to be prepared for some kind of a disaster, be prepared for a bug out. So I talk a lot about places that you can go to get things, and I'm going to post one of the sites that I go to. It's called Emergency Essentials, and this is another reason why I think that something's going to be happening soon, because I go and look at all of these emergency prepared websites, and they're all marking their stuff down drastically. And the only thing I can think of is the reason they're marking it down is because they know that they only have a limited time to be selling this now. I don't get anything off of any of this, so don't think that I'm posting this because I'm selling something. Because I'm not affiliated, I don't get a percentage, I'm not doing a commercial for these people. I'm just trying to show you someplace where you can go and be prepared. And also, I tell everybody, make sure you get the iodine pills. And I'm telling you, there is another nuclear plant, and we're going to go over that, that's leaking. And I'm starting to wonder, it's kind of coincidental that all of a sudden they're coming right out on mainstream news and telling us another nuclear plant's leaking. But when you go to this Emergency Essentials, look through it, the whole site. I'm only giving you the page where it has emergency bug outs and earthquake backpacks, but they have food and they have Silver Sol, which is very good. I talk about that on my Wednesday call. And one of the things you need to look up on here are the iodine tablets. They used to be $20 for 2 weeks' worth. They say if there is a nuclear problem and you need to take the iodine tablets, you need to be on them for 1 month for each person. So the tablets come in a 2-week packet, and they used to be $20. I've seen them marked down to $7.99 now. So they're really marking this stuff down, you guys. And you really, really need to have these tablets on hand, because if we do have some kind of a nuclear event, you need these tablets to take them, not say, oh, well, we need to find them, because you won't find them once something happens. So anyways, that's one of the places where you can get some really good deals. So check that out. And let's see, what else did I want to talk about? I wanted to talk about the nuclear plants that are leaking. I don't know if you guys know, but they just came out. Hold on. Nuclear plant leak threatens drinking waters and wells in Florida. So there is a plant, and I will post this article for you, in Miami, Florida, that is leaking. I would suggest anybody in Florida get those tablets. My suggestion is get the heck out of Florida. Florida's going to go bye-bye. But I'll post this article, I'm going to post both articles about both nuclear plants. This is the one with the one in Florida. So now we have one in Florida that's leaking, and it's leaking into the water. Now, what are you going to do when you have radioactive water? You're going to drink it? Well, I'm going to tell you. There is a company called Chalet water drinking bottles. And I'm going to give you, and again, it's through the Jim Baker Show. I don't have anything to do with it. I don't make anything off of it, so don't think I'm trying to push a product. All I'm trying to do is tell you where you can get things to save your life. And right now, they're running a special on the 3 extreme survival bottles. These bottles are designed to purify your water and take radiation out of the water. So, and like I said, 3 bottles for $76 is a good deal. You can also buy replacement filters for these bottles, but I'm going to post that. So you go there and go check out some of the things that they've got there. They've got some pretty good deals. Now, the other thing I'm going to post is a pump. That it's a water pump. Now, they were talking about this water pump, and you can just put this down, and he said you can actually put it down in the ditch and pump pure water out of this pump. And you also can get replacement filters for the pump, and that pump raises the pH in the water to 9.5, which, again, we've talked about this many, many times on my Wednesday night call, that a lot of reason why people get cancer is because the pH in their body is out of whack. When your pH in your body gets out of whack, the fungus grows. The cancer fungus grows. So if you're drinking pH water, then you're helping yourself get your pH level in your body correct. So this pump raises the pH. It takes fluoride out. All these bottles take fluoride out. It takes metals out, and you would not believe the difference in the taste in your water when you get this stuff. So check it out. If you can't afford it, try to save up or call and find the cheapest one. And then the other thing I'm going to post here, which I wish everybody over there in Flint, Michigan would be getting for their children, and these are sippy cups that have the same filtering system in them that raise the pH and takes all the fluoride and toxins and metals and everything out of the water. And these sippy cups aren't that expensive, $20 a piece. I mean, is it worth $20 to make sure your kid's drinking a purified, clean water? So anyways, those are the 3 things that I think that are vital. But the 2 things that I think are really vital for you to get are the iodine tablets and the extreme survival bottles. The extreme ones are the only ones that take the radiation out. So just, have them, buy them to use them, and then buy some to keep them put away, so if you can't ever get them again, you have them on hand. So those are, and they would make great gifts for people too, I mean, buy them as a gift for someone who can't afford to take care of themselves. But anyways, I just think it's awful funny that all of a sudden, oh no, all our nuclear plants are leaking. I mean, what are we going to have? Fukushima all the way around the planet? And if we do have these earthquake events that are supposed to happen and the power grid goes down, they have generators, just backup generators for these plants. But if they're flooded, that's what happened when the tsunami hit in Fukushima. They have no way to control these plants. We've talked about this before. If you remember a couple years ago, I had Paul, God, I can't remember his last name. His name was Paul, and he was an expert on the nuclear plants. And he talked about they all should be shut down, that we have just another Fukushima waiting to happen over here. And he said that in a way they kind of like, I'm wondering if they planned it, because a lot of our plants are all along the coastline. But anyways, that's one of the things I wanted to point out, was that you need to get these bottles, get the iodine tablets, make sure that you are prepared for some way. If you have no way to purify your water, I mean, come on, let's, be honest. Another thing I'm going to talk about are the drugs that they're finding in the water supply. And this, I'm going to let you listen to this. This was actually on, I think it was on CNN. But listen to what they're saying about our water.
Water. A shocking Associated Press investigation found various pharmaceuticals in the drinking supplies of at least 41 million Americans. Tainted water was found from New Jersey to California. NBC's Tom Costello is following the story from Washington. Tom, I've been dying to ask somebody some questions about this story. First of all, what kinds of drugs are we talking about, and how dangerous is this?
Pretty wide range. Here's the drinking water in Washington, D.C. They found 6 pharmaceuticals in our drinking water here. They include ibuprofen, caffeine, monosin, and about 3 or 4 others. In Philadelphia, they had 56 pharmaceuticals or byproducts. They range everything from epilepsy medication to mental health medicines to pharmaceuticals that really run the gamut. Here's the bottom line from the Associated Press on the study they did. It was, as you mentioned, a 5-month investigation involving the AP investigative team. 50 major cities in 50 states were looked at, and drugs were found in the water of 24 major cities. We're talking 41 million Americans here who drink that water. So what's in the water? Everything from acetaminophen and ibuprofen to mood stabilizers, antibiotics, angina, heart, as well as cholesterol drugs, and even sex hormones. The trouble here, Meek, is that the federal government does not test specifically for pharmaceuticals in the water. And in fact, there is no way to scrub water that is in a treatment plant for pharmaceuticals. And so now we have a situation where states and cities across the country are just starting to realize that there are the remnants of pharmaceuticals in the drinking water. All of that said, we should emphasize, we're talking here about parts per billion or trillion, really minute traces of pharmaceuticals that are in the water. And you say, well, how did it get there? Well, without getting too graphic, all of us who take medication for one thing or another, we don't absorb all of it. It is excreted. It gets into the sewage system, into the water treatment plants. And then, because water treatment plants can't scrub it all out, if any of it, it just kind of dilutes on into the water system. Sometimes it gets into the water table, into wildlife, and then into reservoirs. It goes back into the water treatment site, into the water treatment plants.
I wonder if there's going to be, long-term study about effects of this down the road. And but I guess initially, Tom, the question I'm sure you're asking today is there anything the government can do about this?
Yeah, and the EPA says it's concerned about it, but we don't yet know, and water treatment utility plants say they are convinced that there is no immediate threat to anybody out there. That said, I did a story about 4 years ago in which we found a river in Colorado, and now we know there are many rivers, in which the fish were turning from male to female. And the reason was because there was too much estrogen in the water. The natural female hormone was literally turning male fish into female fish, and the thinking was that this is a canary in a coal mine. So now the question is, what's the impact on humans?
Yeah, that's the next one. Tom Costello on this story from Washington. Thank you very much.
So I guess you don't have to go to the doctors to get antidepressants and all that. All you got to do is drink the drinking water. And I had somebody in the chat. Now, see, I was busy looking at other screens. Had somebody in the chat telling me that I'm crazy and that this is the least of our problems. Obviously, they're a targeted individual, and they're looking for me to give them some miracle answer of how to get your targeting to stop. And they don't understand that there is a silent war going on, and we are part of it. We are under attack. It has part to do with the depopulation, and our targeting is part of it. They want us gone. So, you can go to all these little FFCHS calls and hope that if you give them $10, they're going to do some little hooky-boo miracle and get it all to stop for you. But I know for the last 15 years they play the same game over and over and over again. Write a letter to this guy, write a letter to that guy, call the cops, play this, do that. All you're doing is running in the hamster wheel. And if you don't like what I'm telling you about what's going on in this country and how to protect yourself and how to be prepared, then, I'm sorry. Bye-bye. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not making any money off of this. I don't make a dime off of doing any of this. All I'm doing is telling you what's going on, how to prepare for it, and be ready. I want to talk a little bit about the election. Everybody's saying, oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. Well, from what the research I've been doing, I don't believe myself personally that there's going to be an election. I'll tell you why. I had just read an article the other day that Mr. Obama was approaching the military in some of these bases, military bases, and telling them that he wanted them to pledge allegiance to him, not to our Constitution. And it started getting around where he was going to come to talk to the military about this, and a lot of them turned their back on him or they didn't show up. But this tells you, why is he asking our military to pledge allegiance to him and not our Constitution? Because he is going to unconstitutionally declare martial law. When he declares martial law, he is going to say our country is under distress, and he is going to cancel the elections. And if you don't believe me, he can't do it, you go look into the executive orders, because under his executive orders, he can. Just like he made his executive order about arresting American citizens, holding them without representation or even proof that they're guilty as long as he wants. This isn't constitutional. This is dictatorship. And this is what I think. You can take it or leave it. But my personal feelings is that all this election is a dog and pony show, and the reason they're rioting at all of the rallies that they're having is because, and if you notice when they're rioting, they're out there screaming, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. They're making it a racial issue. They're trying to start civil unrest through going to these Donald Trump rallies and starting fights and rallying. I looked at a video the other day. They actually stopped the traffic on the interstate in Nevada when he was down there. And what they're going to do, and I'm seeing that a lot of these people are some of the actors that have been at these false flag events. But I think they're going to use the election to bring about martial law. And if martial law is in place, he has the right to cancel the elections. And he's already hinted about doing a third term. He does not want to leave office, and I believe he's going to do it under his own recourse. And I believe that he has strategically infiltrated our military and got rid of a lot of the generals. If you go look at the military officers that have been relieved under the Obama administration, he's gotten rid of the people that don't agree with them. So this is the scenario that I think that, that is going to come about. I hope I'm wrong, but this is the one way he can implicate the turmoil to stay into office. Okay, so let's look what else that I had here that I was going to go over tonight. And bear with me, you guys, because I've been sick for 3 weeks and I'm still not feeling good. So every once in a while I get into a coughing jag. Okay, I have Terrell's Black Star update here, and I'm going to copy and paste it so you can listen to the whole thing, because I'm starting it like towards the end, but I want you to hear what he has to say, what's going to happen.
And another point that you may want to realize is that this aphelion position of the Black Star is not going to be nearly far away as people think. Not like a normal Oort cloud comet or something like that reaches a million miles an hour. coming around the sun and then is slingshotted back out again. It does not work that way. This is not a traditional object. It's half helium position, which is the furthest distance that it goes away. When generally it's reaching minimum velocity, then that distance is not going to be very far away. It's because of this magnetic relationship that they have and how the black star increases electromagnetic and magnetic polarity potential as it's getting closer to the sun. That's the reason that the sun is going to turn black. It's going to turn dark as sackcloth. It's going to turn dark. Christ mentions that in Matthew 24, start at verse 29. He's quoting Joel 2. And then black as sackcloth is Revelation 6:12. That is going to happen. It's not because of if you're following Broussard's work, Gil Broussard, 2 days from now he's expecting to see a 3-day eclipse. The eclipse doesn't happen because of the passing of a body. It happens because the black star is close enough to the sun to make it turn all the way dark. That's why it happens. So keep watching the sun. As the black star gets closer and closer, you're going to see these coronal holes getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Solar cycle 24 just going to extend because the sun does not have the internal pressure to create the sunspots, to create the pressures for the poles to flip. The heliosphere that protects our solar system, like the magnetosphere protects our Earth, is shrinking because the sun is being siphoned. The energy of the sun, the electromagnetic potential of the sun is being siphoned off by the black star. That's what's causing the symptom. Okay, so I hope I helped you to understand how this thing's coming in. I believe that the perihelion position is very near Venus orbit. That's why it has a screwy reverse retrograde rotation, because the black star has a high opportunity to interact with Venus, because this is where it reaches perihelion, very near. Inside of Earth orbit path means that it crosses Earth orbit path on the way in and on the way out, but it's very near Venus orbit path right here, this guy. It's very near this as it's coming around, being held by the gravity and being repelled by that magnetic effect. Because it looks to me like Venus has been messed with many, many times. It's the reason that it's so messed up. So that's my opinion on that part. Then let me see. We looked at the earthquakes. There's something else that I want to show you. And this is the website where I get the data. This is the website where he has updated charts. Talking to both of them, trying to get him to talk to me. The website has been updated. Okay. Now, the whole United States moves in 48 hours. This is what I'm telling you. The pressures out west. This has nothing to do with fracking. Nothing to do with fracking. The foot of the North American craton extends through here, and the pressures from the west. The +3 earthquakes, and this went parabolic after 2013. It's going up, up, up. Lots more threes now. There weren't those threes before. And it has to do with this tectonic cascade and the pressures that are shifting from Asia over to the Americas. We are already feeling it. These are dominoes that are falling as we speak. They're just falling in slow motion through the uptick periods, hardly noticeable during the lull periods. But this will affect the entire United States. When Yellowstone goes, New Madrid kicks off, the foot of this guy breaks, you're going to have a pressure shift right over to New Madrid that is going to be like nothing that the United States has ever seen before. The liquefaction that starts is going to cause, if you go to the Scallion maps of the future, the Navy maps of the future, they show this area is a giant inland gulf all the way up to the Great Lakes. So watch for this type of activity to continue, and Dutch sense is going to be so busy through the months of late April and early May. It's just going to be a lot of earthquakes as we pass between the two stars. That's going to happen. Then, for those that think of mini ice ages coming, it makes me laugh. 2015 was the hottest year in recorded history. It beat 2014. Guess what's going to be the new record smasher? 2016. It's going to happen. Earth core is getting hotter and hotter and hotter. Ocean conveyor disruption. Ocean conveyor disruption. I can, not this one. I can use this to help to show you what's going on here. As the black star was getting closer and closer, 2004, it made magnetic portal connection to our planet. That's when the northern ice sheets began depleted. The northern ice sheets were depleting, not the southern ice sheets, not the Antarctic, just the northern ones, because this is where the land masses is the land mass in the northern hemisphere way superior to what's down here. Magnetite distribution, iron, these and salts. These metals and salts, they translate electromagnetic energy into heat. The black star has been redirecting the solar electromagnetism into our planet through a second magnetic portal connection, and with the concentration of magnetite and earth metals in this area, that's what caused these northern ice sheets to begin melting and then deplete. Whenever they're depleted, they have no polar. You have insufficient polar drip. Insufficient polar drip means the ocean conveyor has no engine in the northern hemisphere. So the ocean conveyor breaks, and then the water around the equator gets super hot. That's what we have already. It is not El Nino. It is not El Nina. It is a global event. This is not Pacific Ocean only. This is a global event going around the entire planet. Record warm temperatures up here in Alaska because of it, and around the northern hemisphere. This very mild winter. You seem to be very cold because of the polar vortex phenomenon. Earth is trying to maintain equilibrium by sending that cold air south. It can no longer drip through the ice, melting ice, and coming down naturally. This is a mechanism of our planet to maintain equilibrium. So if you happen to get one of these polar vortices to break off over the United States, it makes you think it's an ice age coming, but it's not. That's very temporary. Now watch. I mean, we've been running the air conditioner down here in Florida through February. And this is going to be a hot spring, and it's going to be a long, long hot summer. That's going to happen, most certainly. So then you get the jet stream fluctuation, you get the oscillation of the high pressure up here, and that causes the jet stream to come way down south. That's what we've been experiencing through the winter here. And whenever we get it in the evening down here, the air is going north, and it is foggy. At night, it's foggy all night, and then in the morning, the sun burns it off. And that's the pattern that we've been having now for the last 2 months, because the ocean waters are so hot in contrast to what we have up north. So that's what's going on. That's what's...
Okay. Now, you hear him say that
Hello, YouTube and newsletter subscribers.
Hold
this
on.
is Terrell from Terrell3.com.
Let me get this
Today is February 25th, 2016.
Okay, so you hear him say that the core of the Earth is heating up. Now, I go to all of the web pages about Planet Watch, Planet X, weather changes, storms, and I've been watching this ever since I've been reporting on what's going on. And there has been quite a few in the last 2 or 3 weeks of hailstorms, and I'm talking in odd places in Iraq, in the desert. They just had one in China. They had one in Russia. We just had one in Texas. And the unusual thing about these hailstorms, and some of them are actual big, huge chunks of ice. The one that they just had down in Texas, they actually had softball-sized hail. Actually, all of the police cars and the emergency response, they were shut down because all of their windows busted right out. You know what it's like to get hit with a chunk of ice the size of a softball when you're driving your car down the street 50 miles an hour? You know, and so this is what's going on. There's great weather changes. And if I tried to find this earlier because I wanted you to see, and I couldn't locate it, but I did see this myself. And there is I don't know if you can find it by Googling it, but there is a satellite picture of a crack of the northern pole. And I'm talking like a big crack, like looking at a river or something. They are picking this image up by satellite, and it's cracking. The North Pole is cracking. I'm talking huge crack. And the other thing that I think is really suspicious is I see a lot of people posting convoys, Walmart trucks, Kroger's, and guess where they're all going? To their underground bases. There's convoys of trucks going to the underground bases. Now, from what I'm seeing, they're scrambling to get the bases ready right now. And why would they have Walmart and Kroger's and Pepsi trucks and Coke trucks? Because those are products, like pop, you can't store that for 10 years. So they're bringing the fresh products in now and stocking these underground bases. So what are they preparing for? Are they preparing for martial law, civil unrest, earthquakes? But who knows what they're preparing for, but they're preparing. And that was one of the things that Al Cuppet said, watch what the military's doing, watch what they're doing. When you see them doing this, this, and this, put the pieces together. So, that's all I'm trying to do is put the pieces together. And here's another thing that I saw that they're doing. There was a man that posted a video on the Planet X site that I go to, and he said he lived in the mountains of Tennessee all his life, and when he was a kid, he would come up to the mountains and he would play in these caves. And he said, what in the heck would the government want to come up here and cement the opening to these caves up? And he videoed it, and they looked like bridges, the cement on bridges, and the whole cave was cemented over, but it had, like grills where you could see in there. So obviously they still wanted the air to go in there. But what they're doing is they're cementing these caves because it'll prevent anybody from running in there for shelter. And the reason they're doing that is because when this planet spins around the sun, it's not going to hit us, but the debris field that it brings along with it, because it has its own solar system and it has all these debris, it has all these meteor, asteroids, or whatever you want to call them, that's what's going to be hitting us. And the only place you're going to be safe is to run into a cave or some type of shelter, and they are cementing these up. Why? Because they want as many people not to survive this as they can. I really do believe that the bases that have all the foreign soldiers on them, after this event happens, they're going to be the mop-up crew. And, and people wonder when they're targeted, how am I going to get my targeting to stop? When is somebody in the government going to help me? They don't give a rat's ass about you. They know that more than us that are targeted are going to die when this goes down. And we are just the beginning of experimenting on people to learn how to chip and control. We were the guinea pigs. Chip these people, surveil them, target them, see how many of them you can get to die, or kill them without leaving a thumbprint because we're using weapons that we can shoot through the wall at them, and then make sure that everybody that's in charge looks at them like they're, woo-hoo, what are you talking about? What planet did you come from? And this is how they're getting away with it. And we'll just label it all under state secrets, and they can run like a hamster to everybody in the world to try to get help, but no one's going to help you. This is all part of this plan because after they do the depopulation, the people that they do allow to live are going to be under the same scrutiny that us targeted individuals are. They're going to be chipped, they're going to be monitored, and they're going to be controlled, and that's what it's all about. And we were the forefront of being experimented on. And you can agree with me, you can disagree with me, but as this all folds out, one day you'll be sitting there going, yeah, I remember Bad Baby was talking about that. I remember her scenario on it. So let's, see what's going to happen. If there's an election, I would be surprised. And if it does go through, I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to rig it because they've already had people complain that about the voting machines. Chris and I have done shows about the voting machines, how they're rigged. You go look it up. A lot of people were complaining the last time when they were voting for one person, it was going for the other guy. So, come on. Look what they did when Al Gore ran. Oh, we'll just say we made a mistake and we'll go to my brother's state and we'll do a recount. Come on, you know damn well they put whoever they want in there. So as far as I'm concerned, they're going to put the murdering Hillary in if they do an election. But I really don't think that the one's going to go down. I really think they're preparing for something, and whether it be riots, I don't know whether it's going to be riots. I don't know whether it's going to be the earthquakes, because we all know they have the technology through HAARP to induce these earthquakes, but they are preparing. I talked to you about this before. I didn't pull this up tonight, but you can look at it. You can Google it. They are sending portable morgues to the New Madrid area. They are sending portable morgues. They're little trailers. When you open them up, they got silver trays on each side, holds, 20-some bodies, I think it is, and it's refrigerated. They had ordered so many of them that the company that made them is still making them right now to fill the order. Here's another thing that the government's doing. The emergency food companies have reported that they were contacted by the government wanting to know how much emergency food they have in their on store right now in their warehouses, and one of the emergency food companies wrote them back and said, well, why would you be concerned in how much food I have in my warehouse? And they came right out and told them, because if we have some kind of a disaster, we're going to come there and take it. And I'll tell you right now, they ain't going to take it to help you out. They're going to take it so you can't get it and starve. They aren't there to worry about you. So that's why I tell everybody, please start preparing now. Start preparing now, because we're being lied to. We are being lied to every day, people, and we need to wake up. I mean, you can't say that all of a sudden we got all these nuclear power plants that are just, whoops. All of a sudden we got radiation leaking into our water. Whoops. Yeah. And, now we've got it down here in the southern hemisphere. First we had it up there in New York, and now we got it down here in the southern hemisphere. And I did hear something about one over in Washington, but they kind of covered that up. They talked about that a while back, but I haven't heard anything about that lately, and I didn't go and check that out. But like I'm saying, there's a lot going on. Now, one of the things I found that was really cool and interesting, and I'm going to post that for you, is I've never seen anything like this before. It's called a concrete canvas shelter. And I came across this on one of the Planet X websites, and I thought I would post it up because I thought it was so cool. But this comes, I have no idea how much it cost, but I watched the video, and I'm going to post it for you. It's a new material that it's a tent that has concrete in the material. When it comes, you have to take a vehicle and pull it out straight, and then you inflate it with air, and then you hose it down. It wets the concrete, and it turns into a concrete shelter. And this is so cool. It's sterile inside, and you can bury it, and you can do all kinds of stuff. But you know what? I'm not being allowed to post now. I might have to log out and log back in. Let me see again. Nope. All right, so I'm going to have to log out and log back in, because I want you guys to be able to get this, or, if you're capable of getting it, but I want you to at least be able to see it, because it's really an awesome thing. I wish I could get one. I don't know what I'd do with it, but I would put it up somewhere. I imagine it's not cheap, but it is something interesting to look at. All right, I'm back in the room. Let's see if I can get it posted. Okay. Anyways, it's called a concrete tent, and I'm sure it's not cheap, but I thought it was interesting. There was another thing I could not find it. I had seen this a few weeks ago, and I thought it was very interesting. It was a tsunami raft. and it was the coolest thing I ever did see. If you can look it up or try to find it, it would be awesome to look at. But what it was like a round ball. And you just get in this and shut the door, and it seals, and it just floats around like a ball. And you can go through the worst tsunami. And I was thinking, well, that'd probably be pretty cool to have for a hurricane, too. I have no idea how much that was. But, you know, it tells you people are thinking about this stuff, you know. They're saying that when Planet X comes around, that there's going to be great tsunamis and earthquakes. So, you know, I have no idea people that have the money that could buy it, but these are some of the things, survival things. Why are these people inventing these things if none of this is going to happen? So anyways, those are the things I wanted to talk to you about tonight. Like I said, I have not been feeling well for like the last 3 weeks, so I haven't been booking guests. If I'm still this sick next week, I might not be out here. Depends on how I'm feeling. But I'm still having a hard time getting rid of this cough. So anyways, if anyone has any comments, let me get back. Oh, here's another thing I wanted to talk about. This is, check this out, man. I'm going to put this up in the let me copy it. I'm going to put it up in there for you. It is a cloud that showed up in Florida today, and they were talking about how all these strange clouds, I'm wondering if, yeah, guest 11, I feel the same way. I feel that when this all happens, you know, because the power grid's going to go down. The power grid's going to go down, and in a way, I say bring it on, baby, because when the power goes down, they won't be able to microwave us anymore, will they? And another thing that's going to happen is when this debris field comes through, it's going to be taking out some of these satellites. You know, I mean, it's going to be bamming these satellites. So they say that it's going to take satellites out in not completely around the world, but a lot of them. So, you know, there will be some communication, and that's one of the first things they'll say that you're going to notice is that things are going to go down. The Internet's going to go down. Your cell phone's going to go down. You aren't going to have any communication capability. That's another reason why I tell people to try to invest in a ham radio or a CB radio. They sell radio, solar radios that are just where you can listen to the ham radios. In fact, they sell one on the Jim Baker Show for $76, and it's solar. And that way, because the only thing that's going to be, people are going to be able to talk are the ones that are on the ham radios. So if you want to know what's going on, and everyone's going to be like, well, what the hell's going on, I would get one of those radios so that you'd be able to tune in and listen to the ham radio operators and find out what's going on around the country. So let me see. I think I've pretty much covered everything, you guys. Let me see. I think that's the shelter. Yeah, I went through everything tonight. Anyways, I don't want you to be angry at me because and feel like I have no sympathy for you being targeted, because I'm targeted heavily. My dogs were just poisoned. I'm being radiated every night. So I totally sympathize with any target. I know exactly what you're going through. I've been going through it for all these years myself, over 20 years myself, and I've seen the game played. I've seen the write the letter to the congressman game played, and these people are all part of it. I'll give you a perfect example. There was a target, I'd say about 6-7 years ago, that was in contact with me. He had $20-some thousand worth of detective. She hired a private detective, and she had a lot of evidence. And she felt that she had a detective in the police department that was honest and was going to help her and all this whoopie-doo. Anyways, they had all her evidence. And she called me up at 2 o'clock in the morning crying away, said, we're going to die, no one's going to help us, blah, blah, blah. And I said, what's going on? And she said, well, they had all my evidence, and in comes the Navy and tells the detective and her private detective that they need to stand down, that this is a matter of Homeland Security, and they took her evidence. Well, thankfully, she had a copy of it, and she was working with Representative Jim Guest to see, this was when he first was starting to try to help everybody, to see if he could do something about it. So she sends this information to Jim Guest. Jim Guest takes it to the Senate floor with him one night when he had to go to the Senate floor to vote on something else, but he just thought he would take it and show it to a couple of the other congressmen. Again, she calls me at 3 o'clock in the morning, hysterical, said she just got off the phone with Jim Guest and that he had taken her information, and after they were done voting, he had taken her information and went around and showed it to a few of the congressmen. She said that he told her, they said, they freaked out first because he said, well, look what's happening to this woman. And they kind of like freaked out and said, I don't want nothing to do with this. This is political suicide. And they ran from him. So, you know, I'm sure that you feel good about sending your $10 in or writing a letter, but, you know, for me, I'm not one that likes to waste my time or my oxygen. So, you know, they know what's going on. They know exactly what's going on. I've said this many times. Look up the article. Lou Brown, electromagnetic weapons. I think it's electromagnetic weapons. Lou Brown, Philip, I can't think of the last, but Lou Brown, Philip something, electromagnetic weapons. And that is a 58-page article of a man who did a study on this subject, targeting. And he follows the money trail. If you follow the money trail, in there's a whole section of black budget projects, and it covers all the weapons they use on us, the microwave weapons, the surveillance, the through-the-wall technology, and the billions and billions and billions of dollars that they get in government grants. Now, why would they want to slap themselves on the hand and stop making all this money and then go even farther down the rabbit hole? And this will explain to you why your congressman ain't going to help you. They're invested in them. Why would they want to stop making money off of you? They're invested in them. They're making money. So it all has to do with money. So, you know, they're not going to slap themselves on the hand. And targets have to realize they got to quit going to the perpetrators and asking them to help. And they got, and I feel so sorry for the new targets because there are mass new targets. And they go on these calls where they think that they found somebody that's going to help them. Oh, my God, I found an organization that knows all about this, and they're going to help me. We're going to do something about this. We're going to get together and protest. And then these idiots tell them, well, did you call the cops? Call the cops. And, oh, yeah, call the cops because they're part of it. And if you look, they get government grants to be part of it because they have a list. And they look to see if you're on the list, and then their job and their participant in it is to label you crazy, and then no one will listen to you. So, and as long as they do their part of coming over and saying, well, this person's paranoid and there's something wrong with them, and we need to have them evaluated and locked up, they get their government grants. And I had told a target in Washington State about this, and she kept saying, no, not my cop. He keeps telling me he's going to do something. He's going to do something. Well, he started perping her right away, and then she had a police radio, and she would listen to the calls. Later on, he ended up getting in trouble, and he's not a cop anymore. But guess what he was in charge of? He was in charge of the government grants. So all you got to do is follow the money trail, you guys. do some homework. Don't jump right out of the frying pan and into the fire and believe anything that anybody on these calls tell you. And when you go to these calls, just know that there's a third of them in there that are working for the government that are perpetrators. So if they come on with, I want your phone number and I'll be your friend and we need to stick together, I would be a little skeptical about that. I'd be a little skeptical about it. It's the sheep over the wolf, the sheep's clothing over the wolf. And believe me, the only reason I'm telling you this is because I was dumb enough to do all these things, and we learn from our mistakes. So, you know, I did the same thing. Oh, my God, I found someone that's going to help me. So we have a question, so let me unmute. Yes, Arizona, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, you answered my question. Yeah, you answered my question.
And what answer did I give you?
Well, why you can't go to your senator or congressman?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And it seems to me when I tell how the program works and what happens and what consequences you get for certain actions, a lot of the targets, and especially new targets, get angry at me, like, oh, she just doesn't want to get it solved. Oh, she just doesn't. No, I wanted to get it solved a long time ago. I did all that nonsense, and I got into all them calls, and I got perped heavily, and I opened my house to let other targets come stay with me, and they ended up double-crossing me and working with the perpetrators, and that's another thing you have to realize. When you get around other targets, and they could be genuine targets, but then if they want you worse than they want them, they'll tell them, oh, well, we won't target you anymore if you work with us. And one of the targets that came to live at my house actually admitted to me that, hey, they double-crossed me, and she got mad. She got mad because she said, and let me tell you something, they'll approach you and tell you if you work with them that they'll not target you anymore. They're lying bastards. And I thought, aw, did you not get the deal that they cut with you for you to double-cross me? My heart bleeds purple peanut butter for you. So my point is, if you do decide to buddy up with somebody, you better make damn sure, and you can't if it's a stranger, that they aren't going to sell you out for themselves. And that's something you better keep in the back of your mind all the time, even if they are a genuine target. You better make damn sure that they aren't going to stab you in the back to save their own butt. And I've seen it live. I've had it done to me, and I've seen it live. And the biggest piece of advice I give anybody who is targeted is do more listening than you do talking, and be very careful about sharing your information. And I'm telling you, these people on these calls, they'll make you feel comfortable, and they'll want you to talk about everything. You can, but then they'll say, well, if you don't feel comfortable talking about things, only tell what you want. But being a new target, you're naive. And you don't know when you get on there and say, well, my name is so-and-so, and I live at so-and-so, and I don't care. You can have my phone number, that you're in a pool of perpetrators that are on them calls, and you're giving them every bit of information that they want. So buyer beware, baby doll. Don't get out there and tell them your real name. Don't get out there and say, I'm a nice person and I trust you. Here's my phone number. And come on over for a visit. Maybe we can go to lunch. Because that person could be a perpetrator you're inviting to your house. And when you go to lunch, they could be putting poison on your food when you go to the restroom. So you just keep in the back of your mind that you can't trust anyone. Do not trust anyone. I don't care who they are. You better know that when you're on these calls and you're giving out your information, there are people infiltrated in that call that work in this program, and they love it when you're an easy target, and you're an easy target when you're out there telling them all your information. So, my heart bleeds for the new people because they're the really naive ones. Because people that have been in this for a while, you kind of learn from your mistakes. I'll give you a little advice. Don't live in an apartment, because they'll live in an apartment right next to you, and they don't have to buy a weapon. All they got to do is rip their microwave door off, put some tape over the shut button, and put that thing up against the wall, and they'll microwave you right through the wall. I know a target that had it done. She would come over my house, and she had burns all over her legs. So, you don't want to live in an apartment. They can get above you, below you, next to you, and all you got between you is a wall. If you do go to live in a house, try to live in a house in the country where you got a house that's not right next to you. You want a house that's far away, because if they are using weapons on you, at least it's a distance away from you. It isn't right up against the side of your house. And what I'm talking about is a house in the city where you got a house, a driveway, and a house. A house, a driveway, and a house. They'll get the house right next to you, and you only got the distance of a driveway for that weapon to go. If you can get into a house that has a stone, those old stone houses, that would be a good protector. If you do move into a house in the country, try to make sure you got a lot of pine trees. Pine trees and foliage are a deterrent. They just came up to my place last week and put that damn brush hog over the fence because I grew the great wall of brush in between my perpetrator on the corner and me. And so what did he do? He cut all his pine trees 5 feet up, and then they came over and stuck that brush hog over my fence and chopped down all my brush right there, and there's a clear shot from his front of his pole barn right straight across my property to the side of my house. So, and I'm going to tell you something, inside information that I got a long time ago. And I don't like talking about this, and I'm not going to give you any names, but I'm going to tell you what I experienced. I trusted these calls. I'm going to tell you what I experienced. I'm going to you, honey. I'm getting back feed. Okay. When I started getting suspicious about the call, there were 3 of us ladies. We were like, something's not right here. Every time we seem to be getting something going, the person that's running this call makes sure it's sabotaged. So the one lady, she worked on these weapons in the labs when she found out they were using them on American citizens.
Hey, be quiet. Nobody cares.
You know what? Bite me. Anyways, she found out they were using them on American citizens, and so she protested about it. Well, they fired her and they targeted her. So this woman had connections. She had connections with an ex-CIA agent. And this is why I don't get on any of the calls, you guys. And this all happened years ago. This is what he advised her. She said, well, I'm suspicious of this call, blah, blah, blah. And she said, what do you think about it? And he said, don't get on that call. He said, that's a front for the government. And their job is to gather all the information they can about you and make sure you don't get anywheres with it. This is why they do the, you exactly guessed 13. This is why they do the, we're going to do a lawsuit and we need your evidence. And then when they all gave their evidence, then all of a sudden they couldn't get their evidence back. That's because they wanted to know what evidence you had.
Nobody cares.
Oh, bite me. Oh, bite me. Ask me if I care about you. So anyways, as you can see, they obviously don't want me to tell you this. So this CIA agent told her that they're a front. They work for the organization. Their job is to gather the evidence that you have, find out who has who on what, and make sure you don't get anywheres with it. And this is why I tell you, don't get on the calls and tell your life story or say, I got this on you and I got that on you, because all you're doing is telling, I mean, if you're in a war, do you tell the enemy everything about yourself? Just look at it that way. Do you actually, when they're in a war, do they send the soldiers over there and say, oh, well, here, this is what we're going to do, and here's all the information on it? So anyways,
do you care?
Actually, I don't give a rat's ass about you, sweetheart. So you can just get the hell out of here and go down your little perpy lane. Yes, they do want to isolate TIs, guest 13. And the thing is, you have to find your own happiness. You have to do your own homework, you know, and just, that's what I do. That's why I do these shows. You know, I find my own way. And that's all I can say is you have to keep yourself, protect yourself. Oh, yeah, and watch out for the Freemasons. A lot of the cops are the Freemasons, and they're, you know, I'm going to do a show on that. I just looked up a lot of that information, how they are actually the Illuminati. They're part of it, a big part of it. But, yeah, and you know, and another thing I want to say about the cops, I don't think all the cops are involved in it. I think the FEMA cops are part of the program, and I think a lot of the cops that are Freemasons are part of it. You know, a lot of the cops are Freemasons, and they're part of the New World Order, and they're part of it. Okay, let's unmute. You got a question, dear?
Hi. I just want to say also, I know that the Scientologists are telling the targets that they'll stop their targeting. It's a lie. Don't believe it.
Well, guest 13 says that I better be careful. I'll end up like Chuck did. Well, first of all, guest 13, I don't feel that we have a whole lot of time left on this planet. And second of all, I don't buy into the fear factor, and whatever happens, happens for a reason. But nobody's ever going to stop me from speaking my mind, and that's why they call me Bad Baby.
Amen.
Anyways, pretty much coming up.
Obviously they can hack in and they can say whatever they want over the phone.
Well, this guy who's harassing me tonight, you know what? I get a kick out of these idiots, you know. I can't help it that you were strained through a straw when you were born, or that they threw the baby away and kept the afterbirth. That's not my problem, you know. And I don't care that you have shit for brains, you know. If you have nothing better to do than to dial in under all different names and call back just to say shut up, it shows your mentality. But all I can say is, you know, here we go again. He's back. I don't like these peons or morons get me upset. You know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, people that are part of this, that play these idiot games, it just shows that they can't get a real job or apply themselves to something real that benefits the world besides being a flea on my back. And all I do with them fleas is just give them a good shake. If you want to come over one day when I'm drinking beer and eating warm beans, I can shake you from behind. Oh, Lord.
Suck a dick, motherfucker, bitch, hoe, suck a dick.
Oh, please spare me. Mama said there'd be days like this. Honest to God, this idiot's come in here in 3 different names. I wonder if you know, it's so obvious he's a troll, and I think I'm pissing him off.
Oh, poor baby. Somebody needs to.
Oh, and that, you know, and that's another too. I want to mention real quick about the street theater and all this nonsense that they do. they really, really want you to get upset. I had a listener that I talked to in Belgium that had emailed me and said, "Oh, Bad Baby, every time I come in your window, they're coming there because of me." You know what? Don't buy into that shit. They're in my window every time I'm out here. I mean, you know, and maybe I shouldn't come to your window then. Oh, they just love that because then you aren't finding out the truth, are you? Here we are. Shit for Brains is back. What's the matter, baby? Did your mommy drop you on your head when you were born?
We're laughing at you, whoever you are. We've got a big yuck going on because of you.
Anyways, I hope that you guys got some good information out of here tonight. I usually don't get all abrupt at the end, but, you know, you know me, I don't give a rat's ass what anyone thinks. Take it or leave it. But, you know, like I said, there's some good postings for those that came in late. If you want to go back and get the chat grabber, I gave out a lot of information on things that you can get on discount right now to help you survive if we do have an event, which I feel that we are going to have. And, oh, yeah, right. Well, you know what? Takes one to know one. Huh? Now I'm being called childish names. Ooh, I'm cool. What am I? A ho? Ho, ho, ho. I'm Santa's old lady. That's one of the things. Oh, that hurt. Oh, Lord, please get this knife out of my heart. Yeah, that's one of the things, you know, that used to really bother me when I first was targeted was when they drive by and they whip the sign of Satan at me, or they go boom like they're going to shoot me and I'm going to get you, and this shit that he's writing in here, all this nonsense. You know, you just got to let that shit run off your back like water off a duck, you know. Consider the source. When you got shit for brains, you got shit for brains.